Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 12. Oh, I'm going to do some big time talk with all of you today. I call this episode When You Are a Yes to Something You Don't Want to Do, You Are Also Intentionally a No to Something You Do Want to do. So let me start out by just saying that this is something that women are inherently known for doing. We say yes to a lot of crap that we really don't want to do. But I want to back it up even before saying yes to stuff, because what this really is, this is a self-love issue, and our inability to love ourselves as if we love everyone else in our lives, our friends, our family, our children, our moms, our dads, our dogs. And yet over and over again, we don't put ourselves in the love equation. And we need to put ourselves in the love equation because that's how life gets better. And so a lot of the work that I do with women is to really coach them through the process of learning to love themselves. Now, I know this is going to sound silly, but I do believe, and I can tell from a lot of the research and articles and self-work that I've done, that many, almost all of our issues come from this inability to truly love ourselves. So for example, the woman who can't maybe get herself to the gym, that's a self-love issue. The woman who attracts one bad relationship after another bad relationship, after another bad relationship, that's a self-love issue. The woman who can't give time to herself and make herself a priority, that is a self-love issue. And so the reason we have this is that it's really hard for us to fill up our own cups because it feels selfish, or it feels shameful, or we feel guilty, or who knows, we're not going to get the mom trophy this week if we don't take care of everyone else's needs first. But let me just tell you why this is important. Because when you don't put yourself at the top of your equation, it leaves you feeling depleted, depressed, resentful, angry. And so we have to reclaim our rights to put ourselves first. And I've talked about this in previous episodes. But I will tell you this. One of the ladies that I just interviewed, who was coming out of cohort 3 of my She Finds Joy program, she was wrapping up the program, and she was doing her exit interview, and so much of her work was really about learning to love herself again. And once she started doing that, it's as if every single outcome in her life began to shift, from her ability to give herself more pleasure in her life, her ability to chase after her career aspirations, her ability to know that she is standing on a firm foundation of self-worth and self-love so that she can attract the right partner. And really just the overall feeling of knowing that she has increased her happiness levels drastically because she's done the work that is part of the program around self-love. And so we took her through the process. She did all the discovery pieces. She did all the activities. We workshopped areas that she was struggling in, and little by little, she continued to have one breakthrough after another. And so we were able to knock down some of those walls and teach her how to give herself love. And it's such an easy concept, but it is so very hard for us to do. And so this is an important lesson, because how do we do this? How do we start showing ourselves more love? How do we add more pleasure, joy, love, laughter, aliveness into our life? Well, let me give you a tip today, folks. The way that we do that is by not saying yes to all the crap we don't want to do. Because when you are a yes to crap you don't want to do, you are also intentionally a no to the stuff that you really want to do. I have this life coach friend. She and I are in the same realm, and we do this kind of work. And Colleen posted this quote on Instagram, and I loved it. It said, if you want more time, freedom, and energy, start saying no. Okay, so now I want you to think about this, because we say yes to a lot of stuff we don't want to do. Let me give you an example. Do we sometimes say yes to our kids for things that we feel like they have to have right now from us? So therefore, when you say, yes, I can do that for you, my son or my daughter, but that's going to prevent me from going to the gym. Well, guess what? You skip your gym thing so that you can put your kid first, right? We do this in all sorts of ways. We say yes, we freely give up our precious energy to practically anyone and everyone who asks. We know we can't say yes to everyone, but we still take on way more than we should. You say yes to helping your friend, even though that would derail your entire work week. You say yes to your spouse for something that means you're going to have to sacrifice something else of yourself. You say yes to your kids. You say yes to this particular person or this community or this charity or this organization. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I am a service-oriented person. There are many times I say yes to things that I don't really want to do because they're near and dear to my heart. So I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is you need to scale back your yeses. I'm going to tell you by about 75%. And so why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we say yes to people all of the time? And then even after we've said the yes, we feel yucky inside, or we feel resentful, or we feel angry. Why do we do this? Why? Well, because first of all, we don't like feeling guilt, and we're going to feel guilt, especially until you're used to saying no to things you don't really do. We do it because we hate and are afraid of conflict. We do it because we don't want to disappoint people. And we do it because we also worry about missing out on opportunities. Whatever the reason is, it's important to get comfortable, folks, saying no. And the way that we do this is by remembering, hey, what's at stake, right? Why and what is it going to take from me if I'm going to be a yes to this? And then we have to weigh the options. We have to weigh whether or not it's in our best interest, in our best well-being in order to do that. So let me share one of the ways that I got caught, even as I preach this and coach other women on it. Let me take you on a little journey, a little story about what happened to me last year and when I found myself in this predicament. And so back when Spencer, my son, was in elementary school, you know, it's really important when your kids are going through school, you want to come out of the gates as the strong, super involved, super helpful mom who volunteers to bring in cupcakes, who bakes cookies for the school carnival, who volunteers to wrap the Christmas gifts or put up the Christmas tree or be on the PTA board. And you don't want to do all this stuff, but you do it because you want to get that perceived mom trophy at the end of the week, right? You want to be able to say like, oh, I'm a really good mom because I am involved and I do all of this stuff for my son and his school, and I'm involved in his education. And so we do all of those things. And then he gets to middle school. And I remember when he got to middle school, it was kind of a relief because I was like, man, I am glad all that shit is over. I'm glad I don't have to bake any more cupcakes or bake any more cakes or wrap any more Christmas presents or attend any more meetings. Like, I'm really glad he's in middle school and some of this stuff has stopped. Now, get it, you guys, I'm a former teacher. So like, I'm super thankful for the parents who volunteer. But what I'm going to tell you is like, that's not my zone of genius. Like my zone of genius, my zone of fun is like not being that kind of parent to my kid. I'm a super playful personality, going to the park and playing with my kid, taking him snow skiing, reading a book to him. Like those are ways I show up for a parent, but I am just not one of these people who likes to volunteer in like organizations. Okay. So once he gets to middle school, I feel kind of a relief because all of that stuff is like kind of backed out. I don't have to be volunteering for stuff all of the time. And to be honest, he didn't make student council. So I was like, yeah, I don't have to do the school dances either, because if you're in student council and you're a parent, you always get roped into volunteering for those school dances. So he and I were both super happy about that, because that's the last thing he wanted was me there. And so then he gets into high school and all is well, and I'm supporting him in other ways, but I'm just really glad all of that bakery sell PTA stuff is over. And then comes the junior prom. And in our school corporation, the parents of junior kids are in charge of organizing the prom. Now, I'm just not going to lie, folks, it's not something that I like to be involved in. It's torturous for me to go to meetings and to be volunteering for school type of organizations. I am thankful there are people who want to do that. That is not me, okay? Now, we get the call out, and of course, I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then, you know, there's the other part of my brain that says, oh, Kim, now listen, you have been super involved all through his elementary school. You have never said no to any of his school things. And my golly, you are not going to end up here in his last couple of years and be asked to do something and not do it. Girlfriend, you better go out strong. You better buck up. You better put your big girl panties on, and you're going to volunteer to be one of the junior parents to do and organize this prom. I simply could not get myself to balk on that commitment. And so I sign up. I gripe and complain every single day there's a meeting. You know, we would have these meetings once a month. I thought they were torturous. They were 3 hours long, and that is the last damn thing I wanted to be doing. And so every time I would feel this resentment, anywho, I bucked up and I did it. I went to all the meetings. I made all the crafts and decorations with the other moms. I served the food until 4 in the morning. I cleaned up until 6 in the morning, the night of the prom. And let me just tell you, I am super thankful for people who do that. And I'm sure many women don't want to do it and they just do it because it's the right thing. But I'm just going to pick to do other things that are right. And this was just not my thing. But I did it, and I kind of patted myself on the back, and I said to myself, look, you did it. You got through this. We're done with this. Thank goodness it's over. That was the last hurrah. And here's what happened. Here comes his senior year, and lo and behold, I get an email from the current junior parents that are organizing the prom. Now, at this point, my son's a senior, but the junior parents did not have enough help, so they sent this email saying, hey, you know, we would really appreciate if there are any senior parents who want to help the after prom, you know, blah, blah, blah. And immediately I was like, ugh, you have got to be kidding me. And so I do what any good girl does, and I called my friend Trish. And I was thinking, you know, Trish and I made it through that prom stuff the year before. I'm sure she got this email too. Surely she's not going to do it, but I'm going to check with her, because if she says, no, I'm not doing it, I'm going to feel a lot stronger in my no. I'm going to feel a little bit less guilt. So I call up Trish, who has like 4 kids. And I'm thinking, surely she's not going to want to do this again, because she'll have another kid coming up through the ranks in another year. And so I called her, and she said, oh yeah, I got the email. I told him I would help. I was like, damn it. I don't want to do this. And so I started to think about this philosophy that I have, which is every time you are a yes to something you really don't want to do, you need to also know that you're a no to the things that you want to do. So if I'm a yes to working this after prom and staying up until 5:30 in the morning, here's what I'm a no to. I'm a no to the very next week where I have 3 speaking gigs where I need to be on a stage and be at my best. And I'm not going to be at my best if I have a major lack of sleep. Also, if I'm a yes to working the after prom, I'm also a no to 5 hours of a date night that I really needed that week with my husband. And so I had to really think about this. And I struggled back and forth thinking, you know, what do I do? I don't want to do this. Sorry about that pause, folks, but I'm just keeping life real, and my damn dogs just went crazy in the background. So if you heard some barking, I'm up here in my podcast studio room, and my dogs are barking, and it got me completely off track. So let me get back to what I was saying. I was saying no to a date night with my husband. I was saying no to being well rested for my really hectic work week. And so I really thought about it, and I thought, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to stay up until 5 or 6 in the morning. I don't want to lose all of that sleep. I don't want to not be my best for my 3 gigs. And I don't want to be a no to this precious time that I really need with my husband on Saturday night. And so you really need to self-check yourself. And I'm not going to say it was easy, and I'm not going to tell you that I didn't feel guilt, okay? But I stuck to my no. Because if I was a yes to that, I was sacrificing a lot of other things that were really important to my well-being. And the bottom line is, I just really didn't want to do it. And I had to figure out and coach myself through this process of my self-worth as a mother was not on the line because I decided to say no to working that after prom. But women do this all of the time. Women say yes to crap they don't want to do all of the time. And like I said, every now and then, of course, we're a yes to things we don't want to do because that's who we are as good human beings. But as women, we do that way more. We say yes all of the time. And what we're really doing with that yes is we're saying no to ourselves. We're saying no to our own needs. Like when you say, yes, I can come help you, but I'm going to have to sacrifice my workout that day, you really have to self-check that, right? Like, are you not worth your workout for the day? Why do you always have to come last? Why do you have to always take care of everybody else's needs? And then if there's anything left over, which there never is, my friends, there's never anything left over when you put yourself last on the list, you know? And so if you really want to shift this area of your life, you have to start putting yourself up higher on the priority list, because I promise that when you do, when you fill your own well up with pleasure, because this is really about adding more pleasure in our lives, that every outcome begins to change in your life. You must put your pleasure and yourself at the top of your list a lot of the time. And so here's what happens, right? Because when our well is dry, when we haven't gotten our workout in, when we didn't give ourselves the opportunity to take that 20-minute walk that we needed, or give ourselves 5 minutes of space or 15 minutes of reading time, what happens is when we don't fill that well up, we walk around being irritated. We start snapping at everyone. We start complaining and griping because we don't have enough pleasure in our life. And let me tell you, that is your responsibility. It's your responsibility. Even if you're raising young children, even if you're married, even if you have a demanding career, you need to be able to carve out time for you and say yes to you, which means that sometimes you're saying no to your kids. Sometimes you're saying, actually, mommy's needs come first. You're going to have to say no sometimes to your spouse. You're going to have to say no to a coworker. You're going to have to say no to your mom, okay? Because this is how we increase our happiness levels. It is how we do it, is through adding pleasure in our life, taking care of our well-being, and knowing that we don't wait until the very last drop of whatever's left to give to ourselves. And so when you find yourself quickly wanting to say yes because you're afraid of the guilt or you're afraid of the conflict, I want you to really begin to self-check yourself. It's important to do this. We do this whole process in my program where I really coach people on how to reprogram their levels of self-love and self-worth so that they know that they are deserving of time, talent, treasure, money, that they know they are deserving of having great relationships, but the most important relationship they can ever have is the relationship with themselves. And so we go on this big self-discovery journey of how do we learn to do that so that we can change every single outcome, because it really is about adding more pleasure in our life. Susan Hyatt, one of my good life coaching friends, I just did an interview with her. It's back in one of the previous podcasts, but the whole thing was around adding more pleasure to your life. That when you add more pleasure, your relationships change. When you add more pleasure, you lose weight. When you add more pleasure, you have more happiness in your life. When you add more pleasure, you start to make more money. Why do you start to make more money? Because you start to see that you have value. You have value as a human being. You have value as a woman. And so when we add more pleasure in our lives, when we are a yes to ourselves versus a yes to everyone else, we have more vitality, we have more energy, we have the ability to creatively think, and we have the courage to chase after our dreams. And so what happens is you have to start making yourself a priority, and it starts to be this game changer in every area of your life. Ladies, my point is you don't have to be a yes to everything. You are allowed to be a yes to things that are near and dear to your heart. But we are people pleasers, and we will sacrifice our own wealth, health, and happiness for someone else. And that, my friends, is what needs to change, because we are worthy of giving to ourselves. Our happiness matters. And going back to the prom story, if I wouldn't have been a no to that senior prom, I wouldn't have been a yes to an amazing date night with my husband. I wouldn't have been a yes to getting good sleep and being on my best for this very demanding career that I have. And I can promise you that there are many other ways that I'm an outstanding mother to Spencer than having to be part of the after prom committee. Now listen, do I suck in some areas as a mom? I'm sure I do. Look, I'm not a good kick. My kid's never going to be the kid to come home from college and be like, Mom, can you make that special meal? That's just one of those things that's really not my thing. And I'm just hoping that I make up for it in other ways, that I'm a great and exceptional mother to him. So I really want you to think about this, because you are going to feel guilt when you say no. You are going to have to allow yourself the discomfort of feeling guilt until you get better and better and better at being a yes to you. And the more that becomes the new norm for you, I promise you, you will start to see every outcome in your life change.